All right. So we're here talking about the Lion's Gate. Give it to us,
Oh.
Kara.
Okay, so I just came across about a year ago the Lionsgate portal. And what that is, it's sort of like a moment in time when particular energies reach the earth. And these particular energies are of manifestation. And it's a spiritual time to, I guess, meditate on things you want to bring into your life, things you want, things, essentially manifestations, okay? And supposedly, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about, Ellen, because remember how I say that, things, we're told that things happen at certain times. And so people, maybe meditate or get their energies together during these certain days and yada, yada, yada. Well, this particular situation with the Lionsgate is no different. So, again, Lionsgate happens on 8/8, so August 8th, according to, if you look it up in astrology. It's a very potent time to, manifest what you want. And people are supposed to meditate, and the earth actually comes into a specific alignment. And the alignment is when Sirius, the Earth, and the Orion constellation are essentially in alignment and in a certain part of the Milky Way. So I'm looking at my calendar, and again, I go by Vedic. I don't use the Western astrology because Western astrology is more for seasons, and Vedic, in my opinion, is very accurate. So I was just telling you about this app. It's called Star Walk. Okay, it's just an app you can download, and you can see in this app where all the stars are, where, it's a really cool app. And of course, I'm looking at my calendar, and I'm like, oh, okay, August 8th is, the Lionsgate portal. Well, that's important. So, let me check that out. And I'm looking at it, and yeah, it's interesting, particularly this year, because it is an 8th waning moon. Now, as you know, 8 in Vedic represents Saturn. Saturn is time. And I was looking at my calendar, and I'm like, but wait a minute, Lionsgate, the sun would have to be in Leo. And everybody thinks, according to Western astrology, the sun is in Leo in August. Well, that's actually not true. The sun is currently in Cancer. And for those of you who, need a little more proof, you can download the Star Walk app, and it'll show you the transits of the sun and of the moon. You'll see a line in the sky, like there'll be a yellow line, and that's where the sun is going, and you'll clearly see that it's in the constellation of Cancer. And so I turn my page, which I'm doing now, and I'm looking, I'm like, okay, so when is Lionsgate? When is Lionsgate? So here's my calendar. Lionsgate is actually on August 17th. So the sun goes from Cancer to Leo on August 17th. And it is also 1 + 7 is 8, so that's also 8/8. But the thing that I found really interesting is I wanted to know the nakshatra, or lunar mansion, that the moon was in at that time. And it turns out it's in the lunar mansion called Pruva Pagluni, which is the ruler of the sun. And in the Vedic, originally, it was ruled by Ahriman. Now, those of you who study Rudolf Steiner will remember that name. And so I started looking that up. I thought, well, wow, that's interesting. So here you have a day where you're supposed to manifest wishes, and it's, sort of bringing the energies of Sirius, the dog star, And then I'm not sure, Ellen, if you've heard of, have you ever read the books by Pierre Sabak?
No, I haven't.
Okay, there's one called The Murder of Reality, and, gosh, I can't remember the name of the other one. I have it. I'd have to dig it out. And if you look in his books, very well done. He's done a lot of research into etymology, origin of words, symbols, and putting it all together. I mean, brilliant job. And so I read this book a long time ago, and it references, the God of the Bible to, and I know this is getting kind of deep, back to symbolism that refer to Sirius. The star Sirius next to Orion. And so I look up the Vedic deity, Ahriman, and it's one of the early Hindu deities. I'm reading right now from Wikipedia, and his name means life partner, close friend, playfellow, or companion. And he is represented by the mid-morning sun disk. He is the deity of customs, rules over customs, and contracts and unions. So I'm also going to read to you what this particular constellation, according to Vedic astrology, is associated with. So, Puruva Pagluni is the Vedic order ruled by Ahriman, the god of contracts and unions. It gives the power of marriage, union, and wealth, and its basis below is wealth gained from a partner or a family, and the basis above is the power of prosperity. So, it indicates partnerships and prosperity. So, then I'm reading, I go, okay, well, Ahriman, Steiner, so I start reading that, and essentially there are, according to Steiner, there are two different poles, or, I guess, energies that we struggle with. And one is, let me get back to it. Let me go to the beginning here. Let's see. Sorry, I'm looking.
That's okay.
Ellen, do you have any thoughts while I'm looking at this?
Well, it is interesting that they say that he's the entity for contracts and, partnerships, because we're entering into the CBDC this fall. They've already announced it. They said that by October, the financial collapse is imminent with the dollar, I guess. But they're rolling out CBDC. They already said it was going to start this month. So it would not surprise me if something happens on the 17th, more announcements of this CBDC, because the meek are supposed to inherit the earth, At least that's what it states. But by what means is the question mark. Because I do believe that we're still in the age of deceit. You have to gain awareness. That's what we're trying to do in this game of souls, is try to achieve and acquire more awareness of our surroundings on how we can do better, because the way that we're being led right now is leading us down a trail of self-destruction. And it is up to us to come into our own power and into our own awareness to make changes for the benefit of all, not just for ourselves, but that will actually have impact on the future, for the future of humanity and nature itself. So that's what I see as far as this duality. Things are becoming more polarized for us to comprehend this world more. And I believe that's just another aspect of, finding Ahriman. But the Ahriman that you look up online is a completely different force. They say it's a destructive force.
Well, so I'm looking at Steiner. I just found the Luciferic force, according to the Gnostics, is one about essentially gnosis, knowing, and sort of enlightenment, more the mysteries, and, evolving humanity. wisdom, and then Ahriman is exactly materialistic.
Yes.
I mean, it's all about the material world. And according to Steiner, Ahriman is going to come back, and he's going to manifest in our world. And you can absolutely see that that's the direction they want us to go with this AI and all the technology, you were talking about, and all of that information. And then you have Christ, who is in the middle, and that we should be like Christ and balance the opposing forces of Lucifer, which is the light, and then Ahriman, which is the material darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came across something interesting also, is that Christ, when he was crucified, here we go. Where did it go? I just lost it. Hang on. Anyway, when he was crucified, he walked out of the Lion's Gate portal, which actually there's a physical place where, I wish I could just find it, and hang on, where he walked out of this gate, and it has 2 lions on it, and it's called something else now, something Christian. But if you're to read, there are some really, really fantastic books. There's one and it's all about resurrection, and how, you're supposed to actually experience the resurrection while you're alive. This book is called The Lost Art of Resurrection. It's by Freddie Silva. I highly, highly recommend this book. And it talks about how Christ, was showing us how to actually, in deep, deep meditation, in very specific, there's lots of areas in the world with earth energies that can help you get there faster.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps you to visit the other world or the afterlife, so you understand that this world is just an illusion.
Yes.
Okay? And so anyway, he actually physically walked out of this Lion's Gate portal. I wish I could find it and read it for you, but I can't. So anybody who wants to look that up certainly can. But anyway, I thought this was significant because, we're always, I wouldn't say we're always, but a lot of people I'll call it the New Age community, we're led to believe that certain energies are higher on certain days, and the timing is false. They've got it wrong, and I think they're doing that on purpose because they don't want people meditating for positive things on this incredibly powerful day. They want to use those energies for their own manifestations.
Yes.
And we need to know these timings so that, just like, remember when you and I were discussing a really good time to basically break the energy or karmic energy, or help diffuse that of our ancestors.
Yes.
And how that people know that the veils are thin on Halloween and blah, blah, blah. Well, the true Halloween isn't even on the 31st.
Mm-hmm.
The energies and the alignments are on a totally different day. And so I guess that's my point that I would like to get out to people, is that, if you want to meditate and manifest and do those types of things, you're looking at August 17th. That's the day that the sun actually transits into the constellation of Leo. And just so you know, yes, Leo is, the heart energy, but it signifies pleasure, fortune, luck, leadership, courageous pride, material gain, those types of things. And let me check really quick, because I didn't look at this, and see what phase that the moon is going to be in on that day.
Yeah, I bought a chart, it's actually a tapestry that shows you the moon phases which house they're in on what day at what time, and all this. I mean, it's amazing all the details that this chart has. So I'm still learning about all of it. And
well, when you're ready, I'll help you, because I've been studying this for years, and it's incredible. So the second waxing moon. So waxing means they're bringing in energy. It's manifestation, growing, okay? Yes. And it is the second waxing, and it is good for buying things, installing deities, marriage, in other words, unions and contracts. The meaning of it is the sun. And the flowering yoni. So yoni is obviously the center. Think of, a woman's yoni, and life and birth. So it's a very, very powerful day to manifest. And I just want to caution people, though, be careful for what you wish for, because, if you're praying for riches and things and that's all you care about, you're really, really missing the point. I really think spiritual wealth is far, far more valuable than anything on this material plane.
Yes.
So if you're meditating that day, I would highly recommend meditating on that versus wealth. But, of course, we need money to live, and that's just how this world is.
Yeah.
So that's what I had for you, Ellen.
Oh, good. No, we need all this information because, the Vedic is what we need to encourage people to study. I have not dove into that myself because it's learning a whole nother language again. You have to learn the words and terms that they use for times and cycles and all this stuff. So I haven't been quite ready. Once I get my mind assembled around it, then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to dive in a little bit like I do. I touch my toes in the water like I did with the Zodiac too, because it's so much information. It's like, oh my gosh.
Like I said, Ellen, I've been studying this for years, and I haven't even scratched the surface. It's very, very deep. I have my arms around the basics, though, and I think a lot of people can get by with the basics, and at least we can understand the energies that are being brought to this earth, and we can use them for our benefit and the benefit for all of humanity. As long as, again, we understand the times and then that they're correct.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the entire construct relies on us and our consciousness. It's not about them or they. It's all of us together in unison, because it's the universe, one voice system. And it takes all of our voices or our verse or our minds together. And once we get on track, oh my gosh, this happens, in thousands of years from now. But once we get on track, just imagine the world that we create. Again, because it just happens throughout this wheel of time that we fall in our consciousness from the highest estate of Aries back down to the 2 feet, and then we traverse right back around trying to climb up the ladder again. And by the time we get around to the golden age, we are creating this world with our mind alone, in unison. I have seen it with my own eyes, things that can manifest, but because we're so divided right now, things are slow and dense, and it takes a long time to manifest. And it's us. It just proves again that it's always reflecting back at us. So
you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
I just, hope that more people can grasp this whole concept that, this world depends on us uniting as one. But again, since I've looked into the Western astrology charts and stuff, you can see the symbolism. That's what made it so easy for me is, being an artist, the visual images of the symbolism was easy to read. And I was like, wow, look at this. It's telling a story right before our eyes.
And Western astrology is great. I don't knock it at all. And again, it's more for seasons versus, and don't get me wrong, people do charts with Western astrology that are very, very accurate. The Vedic just combines all of it, and really gets down to the nitty gritty. I mean, even down to the minute of the day, of the season, of the year. I mean, it's deep, and it's so accurate. And yeah, like I said, with the Western astrology, when it comes to stuff like the two examples we gave, it's not accurate. And so the energies you're using, you're not going to be using the full potential of the day because the energies are off.
Yes.
The energies are off.
Yeah, I mean, the baby steps of Rosicrucianism is, you meditate on particular days at particular hours. And that's exactly, I see what they're doing. I see, the reasons behind it because I've looked into some of this knowledge about the moon phases and the planetary phases and stuff and how important it is to each day and each moment and each time. So
I'm going to give you an example. So, on the internet, you're going to see that the Lionsgate portal peaks on August 8th. This is the information that's being pushed out to you on the internet. Okay, 8-8, I get the symbolism there.
Yeah.
But you're in a nakshatra called Kritika, and that Kritika is for cutting and burning. And, it's great for endings. It's great for purifying or, getting rid of things that, no longer serve you. That can be something that it can be used for. And then the moon that it's under on that day is not good. It says right here, not good for any auspicious ceremonies, activities, or anything.
Yes.
And then there's actually two moon phases in that day. That's the morning one, and then it shifts in the late afternoon. And it is ruled by the god of death, and it's the most inauspicious of all moon phases. So, but yet they're telling you, oh, this is such a great day, But no, it's not. So there it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we are in the dark ages of consciousness, and everything that I have seen out in the world right now today is all about black magic. It's about bringing in the darkness. So people are actually co-creating darkness with the dark forces, and you have to be careful of Kabbalah because it is not the same sound frequencies as the Celtic Golden Dawn. The Celtic Golden Dawn is the foundations, and there you can't find the Celtic Golden Dawn promoted anywhere online. It's very hard to find any knowledge on it. So when I came across it, I'm like, wow, look at these two different sound frequencies based on the Kabbalistic system. So, I'm learning the Celtic Golden Dawn because I want to know the purity of the magic that I'm doing, and I believe it to be the right-hand path Kabbalah tree, as opposed to the left one.
Let me tell you something about what you just said that's really significant. I am learning that Welsh, Celtic, that whole era, I've been reading a lot of books recently about it. And that was the original teaching that was spread throughout the entire world, and we're talking ancient. That's where the ancient Aryan information comes from, and we're not talking about Hitler Aryan, you guys. We're talking about even the Hindus, which is one of the oldest civilizations on Earth, and the Aborigines. I mean, they will tell you that these, tall, blonde, Aryan people that are not human, I don't believe, came and spread knowledge.
Yes.
And so those frequencies that you're learning are different from the Kabbalistic, that comes from a different path, and you're exactly right.
Well, I just feel it in my soul. See, this is something that it's hard to explain to people, so I don't try to, push it out there too much, because I sense it and I have this connectivity to something greater than this physical body that gives me insight. It gives me thought suggestions. And And maybe it's my higher aspect, my higher self that has already done this stuff. Because I feel like it's like remembering things. And to have a past life regression session for anyone, I encourage everyone to go and do this and watch what emerges, because then you can start to compare your past life information, whatever it might be, with the current situations in your life, and you go, and you reflect on it, and as time goes by, you begin to comprehend and see the connecting points even more. So
I would love to do that with you. I know that we talked about that.
Yes.
And yeah, I would love to do that because I know you do that. So.
Yes. And I'm telling you, sister, I never, when I saw myself as an elf in like pale white skin, we're talking almost paper white, we're talking ghost white skin with white hair and purple eyes, I was confused because I was taken aback. I'm like, what is my mind making up right now? I saw myself in third person, like I was looking at a scene playing out, and I knew that was me. And I was I guess I was about to leave my house. I was saying goodbye to my significant other, and I knew it was me. So I said, okay, I'm just going to go investigate this. I'm not going to believe this or not believe this. Let me just go investigate this whole purple-eyed elf thing. And sure enough, I found information about purple eyes and red eyes being the most rare eye colors. And if you think about rabbits, there's certain rabbits that have red eyes. I'm like, yeah. But the red eyes come from the underworld. And that the purple eyes obviously would come from the upper world because it's a high frequency. And I'm like, this is the most insane thing. But it was Elizabeth Taylor that had purple eyes, which means that she could possibly have been of elder blood, because if you watch the Witcher series on Netflix.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That sorceress, what's her name? She has purple eyes. She has black hair and purple eyes. I forgot her name.
Yeah. I can't remember.
She has purple eyes, and they say she's a half elder. She has elder blood, and so does Ciri, the other actress character person. But she doesn't have the purple eyes. It was the sorceress that has, and she has elder blood. So, yeah, I'm like, this is the elder race. But, people aren't going to believe this kind of stuff. But then you start digging more into the myths and into, the sci-fi version and video games and stuff. And they start putting it out there that, yeah, there's different elves and all this stuff. And there's races that have the purple eyes and they have the green eyes and they have golden eyes. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this as quasi-truth right now. Because we are entering into the time where the older elder races are going to step back into the world stage. They cannot do it right now because they would freak people out, because they are of a much larger stature than us. This is why they've been hiding the giant bones and stuff, because they didn't want us to question that too much. All we've been questioning is, why don't they show us the giant bones? You go to the Smithsonian and you ask, where's the giant bones? They go, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is ridiculous. We already know about the different histories of the giant bones that have been taken by the Smithsonian.
Well, I have to tell you, here in Nevada, they found red-haired giants in northern Nevada in Lovelock Cave. They were in a museum in Carson City. I called and they had no idea what I was talking about. But then I went to the museum in Carson, and they have these giant sandals that were made out of, the local vegetation from, the Indians a long time ago. I mean, these things are huge. And yes, they have those. They're there. I have seen them. I should have taken a picture. There's so much, Ellen, that we don't know. And I believe there are several layers to this reality. And only in deep meditation can you see some of these things. And then, of course, you go back to the what I was talking about earlier with the resurrection and the Lion's Gate portal and, all of these things, when you're in that type of meditation and you are doing those types of things, you could get glimpses into the other world and the afterlife and what is there.
Well, all this is a living dream, really.
Exactly.
It's been slowed down enough and crystallized enough for us to have a tangible experience so that we can truly grasp our lessons. Because in the astral, if you jump out of your body, you just think a thought and boom, it happens. You're there. But it's not tangible like this.
Right.
So this is the hardest school. I mean,
and it's hard. It's not easy, that's for sure.
No, it's not meant to be easy because you're going to gain the greatest knowledge from all the adversity that you experience in your life. So,
exactly.
I don't know. All I do, I just hope that I go back to Alfenheim after this because I tell you, this world's a trip. And
that's for sure.
I just feel
want
it.
People to get familiar with the energies that are available to use.
Yes.
That will help them open their minds to different possibilities of, things that we never thought were real, but very well could be. And, these energies are available. And, I'm happy to talk about them, at least what I know about them. And then you can decide to do with it what you want.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I know that there's a lot of deception out there. People are, unfortunately, buying into things hook, line, and sinker. I've seen it with my own eyes. And I refrain. I step back, study, learn, research as much as possible, and then I make a move. I do not dive in blindly anymore.
No, you can't. It's actually dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I joined Connecting Consciousness and, thought that was a great thing until I figured out, my inner wisdom kicked in. It was like, this isn't right. This doesn't feel right. So I left. But, I know that there's a lot of deceivers out there, and I do warn people to be very careful and to use discernment, extreme discernment, especially now. We are entering the darkest point of the Dark Ages. This is the beginning phase of the darkest age. So we just need to realize that it's going to be imperative for us to remain focused on researching and using discernment.
Exactly. And back to what you just said, it is so prevalent right now. They are mixing truth with lies.
Yes.
And it's hard for the average person. I mean, you and I have been doing things like this, Ellen, for a really long time. And it's hard for someone new that's awakening, and they love it, they feel it, they're looking into all of these things, but it's very easy to be led down the wrong path. And remember, energy is absolutely everything, and you are being used for your energy. And what you focus on is, if you're in a place of fear, if you're in a place of sadness, if you're in a place of anger, that energy you're essentially being fed off of. And we don't want to project that, because how when you're on a path of something great and then all of a sudden you think it's a lie, you come to realize, wow, it's a lie. Some people don't press on like you and I do to find the truth. They just give up and say, forget it, all this is a bunch of crap, and then back in the sand their head goes, and it's over. And you don't want to do that. You want to keep pressing on to find your truth.
Yes.
And to find, really, ultimately, your happiness. And that is what is going to lead you out of this material world. And it's not physical, material happiness that I'm talking about. It's spiritual. It's knowing somehow everything's going to be just fine.
Yeah, listen.
Even through all the adversity, and trust me, I know that.
That's been the greatest gift of experience, is just to let go completely of controlling your life. Even to the point where you're just like, I don't want to have anything to do with it. If I lose everything, it doesn't matter. That's when time stops. It absolutely stops. At least in my world, this is what I've just created, this whole time loop thing where it's just perpetual looping in a life of stasis without a sustainable way to live. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I've created this because I just don't want the strife anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of chasing a dollar. I'm tired of digging in the sand, trying to climb the ladder to fall back down to the bottom. I'm done. This is what I've expressed to the universe. And once you learn to let go of the strife, of the fear of losing everything, this is when you gain ground, is all I can say.
That's a beautiful thing.
Well, the possessions are possessing our minds, and we've got to stop. And the only way to do it is just to throw it out of your mind. Like, if I lose everything, I'm fine with it because it's possessing me and it's stopping me from doing my purpose.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
It's hard.
We need to get away from the fear and the hate and the anger and everything that divides us.
Yes. We have to see it that we are one. And I know it doesn't seem like I know some of my friends can be like, oh, I don't know. I am not all love and light because I have learned to become a lion from the dark place that I used to be in, from the ignorance and from the fear that I used to imbibe. I have learned to come out and roar like a lion, and I will no longer be a victim. So, I apologize when I know that I've tried to, cross someone, with my words or something. But if I come across a conversation, some of my friends, I've hurt their feelings just by being so direct, like an arrow. And it's only through this challenge of this world that I have become like this. And I try to explain to them, I'm like, look, I will never try to harm you. But the truth is, I have learned to be strong and fierce and to just stand in my truth and my passion of that. And I will never lie, and I never try to hurt someone on purpose, ever. But because
this world is a duality, and all of us have darkness within.
Yes.
It's what we do with that darkness that, that matters. And to your point, truth is everything. If we were all psychic and knew what the other person was thinking, could you imagine how different this world would be? All the pain and deception and lies and cheating and, all of that would stop.
People would have to hide them. They would learn how to hide themselves real quick, because that's what you can do when you're starting, Hermetics. I still want to, look into that whole Hermetic thing, because I don't think it was Hermes that had that knowledge. I think he stole it from Kemet. But in Hermetics, you learn about how to become basically emotionless and to become thoughtless so that you can control your mind, so nobody can enter your mind space and know what you're thinking. This is going to be important for the future evolution of humanity's concepts of mind and what we're dealing with the metaverse versus the metaphysical.
It's going to be very important because they're coming out with AI that can, in fact, read your thoughts.
Yes.
But this AI movement is not good. It is of the darkness.
Yes.
And it is not okay. And I understand, technology is very beneficial and it can be used to benefit humanity. But when you take emotion out of things, you're asking for trouble.
Yep.
And like I said, everybody has darkness, and that's okay. And, we need that to learn and grow. But this AI stuff, I just, with every bone in my body, you need to shy away from it. Do not consent. Remember, you don't have to consent. So like with you and your whole PayPal situation, we're heading into a world that is going to be driven by technology. They're going to track and trace everything. And, but at some point, where do you say enough is enough?
Yeah.
Well, where do you draw that line?
Well, it's going to be at the end of the age of Aquarius, because we're just beginning the foundations of it, Or
Yeah.
in the Vedic, of course, you said that we're going into Capricorn, but, it's still going to be a challenging time for all of humanity. And the more people embrace that septic man world of control, the more they're going to realize they've been duped, they've been had, and it becomes overcomplicated. I've actually had the privilege of becoming or able to use the program Discord for Midjourney, to use the artificial intelligent made artwork that you put in with a descriptive, sentence. And I've been playing with that for the past week. It's someone else's account. They let me just, jump on and try it out. Well, let me tell you, that entire site, and when I came across just the term alone, Discord, I was like, oh gosh. And let me tell you how chaotic this website is. It is so hard to navigate, and that is the world of confusion that they want to put people in, because the more they can put them in a world where people are disassociated from their spirit and disconnected and disjointed and chaotic in their minds, the less these people will be able to focus on meditation and to try to figure out who they truly are.
Exactly.
So that's the whole goal of artificial intelligence. It's a mind without a soul, and it's going to be the greatest challenge that humanity faces during this epoch.
I could not agree more. I could not agree more. Think of the Borg. You have been assimilated.
Yes, and they are about to assimilate everybody forcefully because of the monetary system that they've been controlling. They knew this time was coming when they would be exposed. So what did they do? They went ahead and built the Svalbard seed vault, off the coast of Norway, for their doomsday seed vault plans of replanting the earth with all of the food that they need. Well, then they've also made all their underground bunkers and all these things so elaborate and fancy for them, so that they could go away during the time that we get challenged with their artificial intelligence robots that are going to be dominating in their stead. So
I have to tell you, and your viewers too, there is a channel. It's called Adapt 2030, ADAPT. And Ellen, I just sent it to you, I think, today. And so the cycle, we're going into a solar cycle that has a lot of disruption to it, and you can call it climate change if you want. Has absolutely nothing to do with global warming. In fact, that's a whole big another one of those things that you're being led to believe that are actually the opposite.
Yes, psyop.
But severe climate change is in fact coming, and the thing is they know this. These are cycles that have been tracked they're actually cycles within cycles that have been tracked for thousands of years. And they are preparing for a significantly less population. They are expecting a lot of us to not weather the storm. And then probably by, again, you've heard of the Agenda 2030, I believe that's when the target is. And if you going back to the Bible for a minute, if you backtrack 7 years from that, well, that's 2023.
Yeah.
So, it begins now, and we're going to go through, I guess, those 7 years of tribulation, just like the book says. And, it's not good. It's not good. And all of this technology and all of these things are going to emerge once all of the chaos is done. And we need to say no. We need to say no.
Yeah.
It's not okay. We need to get back to the earth and back to, growing things and being a part of the land and, the things that we're supposed to do, and loving one another and being kind and all of those things.
I mean, nature is the one truth. Nature is never lying to us. It never really changes except for the man-made changes and of the seasonal changes that we go through in the year. It's always the same. It's always there for us. but we do not see that as a benefit. And, it's such a sad time to be able to witness all of this. But at the same time, it is also, you can see the wave of consciousness that is rising to meet the challenge of the world right now. So it's going to be very interesting for the future to see what this outcome is going to be, because from my perspective, I'm involved with different groups. I stay aware on different topics, and there is a wave that is coming and they're encouraging people right now to join their own state assembly for each county. You need a particular number of people. I believe it's 13. 13 is one of the numbers, and then 30 something for another of the numbers, to be able to assemble and to reinstate the Constitution in the Republic of the United States of America. And people are actually doing this. I was on the call on Wednesday. Wow. And they're encouraging, because this is for the state of Georgia, they're encouraging people to join from their county and to get people from their own county to also join in the force, this effort to pull us back into a constitution that benefits the people, as opposed to the Admiralty time law that we've been under, which is a lie. And you can actually fight your traffic tickets. I've done it before, and I'm doing it again. I got a ticket for rolling through a stop sign kind of thing. I took a right turn because I was rolling. I had my big truck, and I had a truck full of stuff, and I saw no one's coming, and I just took a right, and of course this police officer pulled me over. But it doesn't say police, it says policy on the side of their vehicle. So what did I do? All I did was sign the ticket with under duress. I don't ever put my signature on anything, because I'm not signing their contracts with my signature. I put under duress because they're forcing you to sign something that against your wishes. And then you take that to the post office and you get a registered return receipt requested, where you can prove that you've mailed this ticket back. But before you send it back, you put, I do not consent to contract, and, no contract across the front, written in red, because that means that you're a living person. Colors are very important. And so you mail that back. And then you wait for the response. So far, I haven't gotten my response, but I will make sure that, if I have to go to court, what you do is there's a whole nother spiel for that, because they are trying to get you to consent to access your Cestaq trust. This has been done for like decades now, and we need to stop this lie. There have been people about all of yes, that. Yes, I'd love to know the outcome. Oh, listen, I am practicing it on every level. So there's a script to go by. If you do have to go to court, you step in there and you demand who is going to be responsible for any damages against your bond and all this stuff. I mean, it's amazing. And there's even more groups that are chopping away at the IRS tree and that foundation of lies that has come out from the Vatican. The Vatican has done all of this stuff to us. They own us through our birth certificate, which is actually connected to your afterbirth, not you. Your birth certificate is based on your afterbirth. That's why I've heard that. I've heard yes. a lot. And then they, my children, they actually prick their foot, I think, when they were born, and put their blood on the certificate. Yeah. And that's a blood contract. Uh-huh. And blood contracts are of the devil. They're of a darkness that is not of the light. So you need to know these foundational truths. So that's just a whole nother level of wow, this is all coming. I know people that are joined in these groups. I was following Irwin Schiff back in the early 90s when he was challenging the IRS and saying that it was a fraud and all this. Well, people can go and watch the documentary that was put out by Aaron Russo. He put out a documentary about America, Freedom to Fascism. It can be found on YouTube in its full, video format. And you can watch how he went around interviewing people, like asking them, if you didn't have to pay income taxes, would you pay? And everybody, of course, says no. Well, then he actually interviewed some IRS agents who had gotten a hold of, and I actually had this newspaper. There was a New York Times article that came out It was a full-page ad that said $50,000 to the person that could prove the law that says an individual has to pay income tax. That was in the newspaper in New York. And I said, wow, I had copies of that thing in my hands because we wanted to distribute it. Well, then these IRS agents had gotten a hold of that, and they said that this was going to be in the bag. They were going to have that $50,000, and they were going to be like, yeah, here's the law. Well, they did some digging, and some digging, and some digging, and they said they could not find the law. And this man, Aaron Russo, interviewed them. So then he interviews the man who wrote the IRS code book. And he says, show me the law. He's like, just show me the law. And the guy gets frustrated and says that, basically, his pants were pulled down, basically. He's like, this interview is done because, I'm not prepared to answer your questions. He's like, no, but it's just a question. He's like, why can't you answer it now? He's like, and then he speaks to him in either Hebrew or Latin, and he tells him that you will receive no help or something like that, and it's like, wow. Look at the lies and the deception. It shakes them in their boots. But Aaron Russo died after he made that documentary, of course. So he died of cancer, some severe, rare cancer or something. I'm like, yeah, they can do that.
Code word for poisoned or something.
Yeah, something. But these things are out there for people to know. We are moving into some strange era. And I do believe that it's basically in its root is going to be the two foundations of a new world. We're getting back to basics by people embracing nature and using local farming practices and buying local. And then the oligarch world is the one that is splitting off. It's creating its own dystopia where there's going to be the haves and the have-nots in their world. That's the centralized banking system versus the decentralized that's going to support the people who are doing local farming and all that. So,
well, I agree. That's quite a possibility as to where we're headed. And like I said, when it comes to, the population decline, and this has nothing to do with what they're trying to do. This has to do with, again, just solar cycles. I would highly recommend Adapt 2030. There's one recent video, and it says, do the elite know how to survive the grand solar reset? And it gives a good overview as to what he's talking about and why, so that people can kind of wrap their heads around what we're about to head into. And, it's just more information. The more information we have, the stronger we become.
Yeah, well, the more grounded to the earth and in your heart center you are, the less affected you become. So, the external world is going to be in a whirlwind until the dust settles and we get settled into our new reality. But where are your emotional states? Where's your consciousness? Is it residing in the material world, or is it more grounded in the spiritual plane? Because if you're grounded in that spiritual reality, you can be unmovable. You become unfazed by all of the activities.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because this life is temporary.
Yes.
We're in a meat suit, just, going to school. That's all.
Yeah. And that's really the simplicity of it.
And that's exactly right. That's exactly right. It is as simple as that.
Well, hopefully people can see the signs and start to move in that direction anyway.
Well, let's hope. All we can do is keep putting this information out and, hopefully help people to the light, I guess.
Yes, pretty much. Just to help them know themselves is really all you can do, because, it's their choice. It's a free will choice to choose all of your experiences in this life and the next life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So be careful of those contracts that you agree to, though. And that's what people are always sending me, hey, join Signal. Hey, join this and that. I'm like, no, I don't care to contract with the darkness that much,
Just to get into your bank or your phone, you have to sign the user agreements. And every time I click that, I say out loud, I do not consent.
Yes.
you know.
It's
I do
always
not
under duress.
consent.
Oh, so here's a funny thing. You know, I know about sigil magic, and so you can do this yourself. This is what I practice at home. Home practice by Ellen King. I actually, on my checks that I have to pay my bills with, because I still sign checks. I don't do all that auto pay stuff. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So I will put a sigil under duress. I make a sigil for under duress, and I do not consent sigil. And I stick
That's
those,
brilliant.
I stick them on the actual bill and the check, and I mail them off. I just started this in the past few weeks. I'm like, you know what? I'm just
That's
gonna.
brilliant. I like that.
Well, as we just incorporate this in our daily practice, guess what? It's going to be working in the cosmos for us.
Right? Exactly. Right.
So,
Wow.
yeah, simplicity at its finest.
There it is.
I'm that weird person, you know. I'm sure the postmaster, when I write it on the outside next to the stamper, they're probably like, "What is this scribble mark?"
Right.
They're like, "Oh, this person messes up all the time." I'm like, "Nope, it's actually a magic." So,
That's so funny.
it's the simple things that we can do, you know. Why not?
It is. Control what you can control.
All right. Well, I guess that's all I have.
Yeah, it's been good chatting with you.
And that's where we ended the conversation on the topic of the Lion's Gate. We continued chatting on about a few other topics, but it wasn't important enough to share. So I hope you liked this video. Subscribe, like, and share if you haven't already. And I'll see you again on the next one. Thanks for watching.